today we're going to go through a little foot routine. I've had an injury in my foot recently, which has kind of led to a plantar fasciitis or policeman's heel, and that's quite a common injury and a common thing that people suffer with, especially during the summertime when you're walking around a lot more and out and about a lot more, and also wearing sandals and flat shoes a lot more. So today we're just going to go through a little routine to help with strengthening and releasing of the feet. I have a fascia ball here, but you can just use a tennis ball. I've also got a resistance band, but you can also use a like a dressing gown tie if you haven't got anything like that. So that's the equipment that you need. I also have this Pilates foam roller. That's just my favourite way to stretch my calf out, but I'm also going to show another option, so you don't need that. But if you've got that, even just a normal size foam roller will be helpful. So to start with, we just want to get a bit of movement in our toes, and because often we overlook our feet, especially when when you go to the gym, you're exercising other areas, but you tend to kind of overlook your feet. But obviously we're using them all the time, so it's quite good to get involved. So to start with, just sit however comfortably you are, however way you can grab your feet easily. So to start with, we're just going to get a bit of a stretch in the toes. So I'm just kind of pushing them backwards, and then I'm also bringing them in, just to get a bit of movement. You can also use so at the moment I'm doing my left foot, so you can use your left hand to kind of keep your foot in place, and then just use your right hand to kind of create some motion in your toes, and just kind of, I'm doing a bit of rotation there, and just backwards and forwards. Okay, it's just quite a nice way to get all the muscles and bones moving quite nicely. If you just want to stretch them out a bit more and create a bit more space there, if you can fit your fingers through your toes as though you're kind of holding hands with your toes, that's just an even nicer way to just create a bit of space there. It's very gentle, subtle movements. I'm also now kind of getting my whole foot involved. You can also do this and get your ankle involved. Just a nice bit of movement, just kind of creating space in the foot there. Quite nice to stretch them out, and then just bring them forward. And then we'll do the same on the other foot. So just starting with a bit of back and forward movement on the toes, a bit of rotation. You might find that one side moves easier than the other. That's quite normal. So this side for me seems to be a lot more flexible, and actually it's my other foot that I had the injury on, so that kind of makes sense. Then if you want to hold hands with your toes, just create a bit more space there. And then the ankle involved, if that's comfortable for you. You can always also do this sat on a chair if it's easier. Okay, nice. Then we're going to bring our toes in front of us, and we want to create movement in individual toes. So to start with, let's start on our left foot again, and you kind of want to keep your big toe down and see if you can raise the other toes without the big toe coming up. This is quite difficult, so just move gently with yourself. If you can do it without holding your big toe down, that's amazing, but if you can't, then just place your fingers on it. Again, you're just creating a bit of stretching and strengthening in the other toes. It might be quite tiring if you don't really do anything like this, So don't overdo it. Just kind of waking them up, and then we'll do the same on the other toes. So for me, my right toes seem to move a lot easier. Okay, and then we're going to try and move each toe individually. So for this, I definitely have to hold my toes down. I find this one way too difficult without, but again, it's just kind of getting used to it. So I'm placing all my fingers on my other toes, and then just lifting each toe individually. There's some that is harder than the others, but just try your best. So like for me, the last two ones are really difficult to move on their own. And we'll just do the same on the other foot. That big toe just wants to come up all the time. Yeah, so just do that in your own time, your own pace. It's just quite a nice little exercise to get involved, and you can feel that you can kind of create more space in your feet. So there seems way more space in my feet, and they're moving really nicely now. Okay, and then if you would like to get the resistance band. So with this, it's just giving you a bit of extra support, and we're just going to do some, this is called plantar and dorsiflexion. So you can do this without the band really, but I just like that bit of extra resistance. So we're just moving our feet all the way back, and then all the way forward. You can do it like this as well, because then you're kind of getting a hamstring stretch as well. So we can do that lying down. Okay, and you've kind of got the band in the middle of your foot, and you're just creating this movement back and forth. When I'm doing this, I've also got a bit of a stretch in my calf when I bring the toes all the way back. Movement, and then we'll do the same on the other foot. Lovely. And now we're just going to do a little bit of self-massage in the feet. So I'm going to start my left foot again. You just, however you want to do it. So for me, I quite like to kind of go in the middle and then come out either side and just really open up those bones in the feet and just come all the way down. But whatever feels nice for you. You can kind of get your fist involved if you want to. You can also use like lotion or cream or whatever it is that you like to use, just to get a bit of an extra glide. But to be honest, when I'm doing it on myself, I quite like to just do it without any lotion or anything, because this way we can also just get into the fascia. Just putting my knuckles in and just having a bit more movement again. But yeah, whatever feels nice. I like the feel of this, just opening it all up with my thumbs, just going all the way down the foot. You can feel quite a few clicks and stuff when you're doing this, so it's quite nice to know that it's working. And here we're just kind of getting those thumbs in. Okay, and then we're going to do the same on the other foot. So just start by opening the foot out it's just a really nice, I think it's really important to just look after your feet, because obviously we use them so much, and you know, with treatment, if your feet are hurting, then it's likely that the rest of your body's going to compensate in one way or another, your hips, your knees. So it's just really important to kind of get a bit more movement in your feet so that they can work a bit better and help support the rest of your body a bit more. Going with the fists and just getting a bit of movement there. Okay, and then now if you'd like to get the tennis ball or fascia ball or whatever it is that you have, and we're just going to increase that massage. So if you just want to rub it underneath your foot, I'm using a ball here to balance on, but you don't really need to. Just do whatever's comfortable for you. And with this, you can really get your foot in. That should feel really nice. You can even get a little bit of a stretch in there, so if you hold your toes on the ball and just put the rest of your foot down. But I mainly use this to create a nice massage. And just roll it around in it whichever way you like. So I'm going back and forth, but also getting some circular motions in there, anti-clockwise and clockwise, and you can get that all over. So with plantar fasciitis, it tends to be just on the inside of the sole of your foot. So I've got a slight tilt in my foot here to just create a bit more weight in that. It can be quite tender. So this is my injured foot, so it is more tender on this side. So you just kind of want to go as gently as you can. You don't really want it to be painful. It might be uncomfortable, but it shouldn't really be painful. And then we'll do the same on the other foot, just to even it out. Yeah, so this side, it is a little bit tender, but it doesn't feel as bad as the other side did. Again, back and forth, and then rotations. So the next exercises we're going to do is just creating a bit of proprioception in your feet. So it's kind of, which is something we should have already, but it's just kind of heightening that. So I quite like to do this with my eyes closed, but if it's too difficult, then just keep your eyes open. But you kind of want your feet hip width apart in a parallel position. And we're just going to do a little bit of weight bearing, so you can really get your feet working in all different directions. So to start with, it's very subtle movements, but you just want to do a slight lean forward. So you can see that was just a really small movement. I'm just having a slight lean forward, and then so for there I can feel the feet, my weight in my toes, so they're having to spread out and work a bit harder. And just holding it. I'm not fully lifting my heels, but I can feel that there's hardly any weight on my heels. And then, you know, you can hold that for as long as you want, but we'll just do a little demonstration today. And then we're going to do the opposite. So put your weight in your heels. You can lift your toes up if you want to, but you can also just leave them flat and just get that slight weight bearing in your heels. So proprioception is just where you're telling your nervous system, you're kind of just connecting your mind and body. So it's just a really good practice, a really nice connection. Okay, and then we'll go back to center, and then you want to kind of move your weight ever so slightly over to the left hand side. So on your left foot, this will be on the left side of your foot, and then on your right foot, the weight's bearing more into the centre, near the sole of your foot, so the inside bit of your foot. And then we'll do the same on the other side. Again, you can hold these for way longer if you have more time. Okay, perfect, and then back to centre. So very subtle movements, but just kind of practicing different areas and like putting your weight onto different areas of your feet just to kind of create that proprioception and more space, and you know, letting each area of the foot take lead. And then we're going to do some calf raises. So again, if you need to balance on the wall or balance on anything near you, then please feel free. So we're just putting our weight fully on our toes and holding that, and then come back down, lift your toes up, then go back. So we are doing the weight bearing here from front to back, but there's just a bit more exaggeration going into these movements. So here, then you lift your toes up. So we're going to do this about 5 times, but again, if you have more time, feel free to do this for longer. And if you feel any pain at any point, then just completely stop and go back to doing something that feels nice, let's say the massage, or because this is more strengthening. Very nice and slow, controlled and subtle movements. Perfect. And then for the last exercise, just because if you've got tight feet, you also tend to have tight calves, we're just going to do a really nice stretch in your calves, which I would recommend trying to do daily if you can. This is where I tend to use the foam roller, just because I think, for me personally, I just seem to get more of a stretch with it and it just feels a bit nicer. So I have this up against the wall, and then the leg I want to stretch, I just lift my foot up like this onto the foam roller, and then shift my weight forward. I do it up against the wall just because it's just the easiest way to do it, and then you get more of a stretch there. And then you can do the same on the other side. So we want to hold the stretch for about 50 seconds if you can. Another way of doing this stretch is just standing on your stairs, on the back of your step with your toes right at the edge of the step, and then hanging your feet off. So you've got this same position, but you're just doing it on the stairs. Yeah, so just hold that. If you haven't got the foam roller, you can also just do this stretch in your calf. So you've just brought your leg back until you go as far back until you really feel the stretch in your calf, and both of my feet are flat and facing forwards. And the wall is just to support, to allow you to do that and hold your weight properly. And yeah, just try and hold each stretch for about 50 seconds on each side. Okay, perfect. So just going to end it there. So just try and do that as much as you can whenever you get a moment. You can do it when you've got an injury, that will be helpful, but if you haven't, it's also just a nice thing to do whenever you get a moment to do that. Thank you very much.